Hey, it's T Styles, and I'm back. If you don't know who I am, I own and operate the Cartel Publications, which is an urban fiction publishing house. I also own and operate the Elite Writers Academy, where I teach people how to build their book businesses through my courses and my planners. My most popular planner is my page by page book planner. It is a bestseller. It flies off the shelf. Cannot keep it in. So I teach people how to do that and how to market so that they can get money after they finish getting their books, all through the Elite Writers Academy. So today is day 17 in our series. Is it day 17? Let me see. No, sorry, day 16 in our series. We did day 15 yesterday. Day 16 in our series, okay? And we always start with a quote. So if you're just jumping in, you don't know where we are, you should probably go to the beginning. We got from day one all the way up to this point. Join us. But just know that if you're jumping in at the last minute, you may get confused. So day 16, it says, fill your paper with the breathings of your heart. William Wordsmith. And I say, let's talk about villains for a moment. I love a good villain. And I love a good villain because, number one, I like putting anti-villains or anti-heroes, rather, in my story as leading characters. And I like doing that because although I love Cinderella, I love stories that are, with a beautiful girl gets her happiness. That's not the life that I grew up in and saw or witnessed, growing up in Washington, D.C. And so, Southeast, by the way. And so it doesn't really resonate with what I know. So it says, because I believe when a writer creates the perfect villain, when we discover that we have more in common with than we thought with these villainous people. However, if we learn something from the books, which we all should, perhaps we will move about life not being so judgmental. Because I heard a quote somewhere, and I may have even mentioned this on my YouTube channel before. They say, if you live long enough, you will see yourself become a villain. There are periods in your life where you have been the villain. Can you believe that? There was a period in my life where, when I was younger, where somebody called me while I was on vacation. It was a really good friend when I was young who thought I was responsible for a robbery of my own house. We were roommates. And I remember being shocked because this person really moved about the world thinking that I had the capability. Mind you, I was as green as my green screen over here when I was younger. So didn't have access to people except for the people who came into my life. My mother really did a good job of making sure that we were restricted, isolated from so much because of the area that we lived in, that I didn't have access to a bunch of friends. The people who I would meet at school or Job Corps or foster care when I went through that period in my life. But I didn't have access to people who would do anything like that for me. But yet this person was on earth thinking that that was a capability, that I was capable of that, and thought that I did that. And I never forgot that. And then I never forgot that quote, that you can have periods in your life where you're the villain, whether you be innocent or guilty, and don't even know it. So in the past, villains were often thought of as monsters. You imagine their faces distorted and things like that. But then when you start looking at people like Ted Bundy, who was a very attractive man, who was a serial killer and charismatic, he was able to get people into his realm a bit more simply because of his looks. So his looks were like the trap, right? Killed over 35 people. So villains aren't the classical villains that we seen as children. They can look as regular as myself or as, crazy as, some of the characters that we saw when we were children in our stories or in our books. It is important to understand that to create a good villain, you must give him two wishes. In the early 19th century, it was okay to have a villain roaming around the earth, killing and maiming for no reason. You remember those TVs and those movie shows when we did that. Now the best villains must have dimensions, And if what that villain wants is something that you can kind of understand why they are the way they are, it makes for an even better story. Okay, if your villain is a serial killer who's murdered elderly people for sport, perhaps you can make him a dog rescuer in his spare time. Or if the villain kidnaps children for profit, maybe she can be an advocate for change in Darfur. The point is to always give your villain layers. Okay, it'll pay off for the long run. So we need to get out of the mindset that villains are just one layered. we have to understand that with villains, number one, I believe in some of these cases that these villains are born as a result of society. The things that we have done in society, whether it be isolate this person, not care for this person when this person was a child, which is why I always say I don't care if you see a child and your antennas go up and something is wrong, get in the mix regardless of what you may think will happen, because you never know how you may impact that child's life. You may be responsible for that child becoming a hero versus a villain. So, but the villains should be layered. And we don't want to glorify or justify why this villain is the way they are, especially if they're a nasty old villain. At the same time, we need to give them layers because it makes for a better storyline. It makes for a better novel, and it makes it more applicable to why this person is targeting your protagonist. So this is what I always say over and over and over again. The villain's main purpose in any story is to push the hero to change. But if we're going to push the hero to change, most of the times that villain's reason for being in that story has to conflict directly with the protagonist. And that conflict comes from knowing the layers of that villain. So the exercise for today is think of your villain in your story, give him both good and bad traits, and then write them down. If you haven't already, subscribe. We are here on a regular basis. If you want to get all my notifications, hit the bell icon, but don't be surprised when you start getting ding, 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 and say, Toy, going crazy. No, you hit that bell for me, which I appreciate, but just know I'm going to be uploading videos. All right, talk to you later, babies. Bye.